Welcome to Real Quick with Gino Giovanni. So glad that you made it. It's now episode 5. We got a few things to cover here today. And again, we're going to keep this real quick. But it's some very powerful stuff here. We're going to go over the Million Mega March, or the Million MAGA March. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's video of the Great Reset and how that video is now starting to get taken down on the internet. And then finally, President Trump still in his Trump train, moseying along, trying to get sufficient evidence for irregularities in the 2020 election. And seems to be going pretty good for him, for the most part. The Million MAGA March took place this past Sunday in Washington, D.C., had some smaller outings around the country as far west as Sacramento. Big up. Peaceful Trump supporters marching the main streets of Washington, D.C. to the Supreme Court. Patriotism in full effect as the 70-plus million Americans who voted for President Donald Trump will not go quietly into the night. As the Trump campaign keeps building a case on irregularities in the 2020 election, despite small setbacks, the mainstream press and big tech want you to believe. By night, when the march started to die down, most of the peaceful demonstrators went home. But then here comes Black Lives Matter and Antifa rolling up, punking Trump supporters, starting physical altercations. The members of the Proud Boys run in for defense. No word on what happened after that. Only that, some Trump supporters got messed up, and some people got taken away and arrested. But it's very interesting the way the news media, the mainstream press outlines it. You know, they always put the Trump supporters in a bad light, never saying that they're the peaceful ones. It's always Black Lives Matter and Antifa are like the peaceful ones. If you remember back in the summer, people like Don Lemon and his boyfriend Cuomo saying how peaceful the demonstrators were and how effect that they were having. It was more of a positive light on them. But the media just won't let up on Trump supporters, even though they're a very diverse group of people, some of the most diverse people you'll ever find in one place. But because of the ideology and America first, not some world government, the media would rather have you see the Trump supporters in a bad light. Just the way it goes. But that's why you're tuning in to this show and other alternate forms of media, because it's time to stand up and hear the truth, hear the other side of the story. We've all been lied to for decades. And it's gotten worse in the last few years. In other news, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, there's a video released to him talking about COVID and how he's going to put his country on lockdown. And it turns out him, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and the vice president, the media likes to crown Joe Biden, president-elect, apparently, all use that phrase, build back better. Now, it's very interesting. There's an article that was just posted last night in the Jewish Voice, and it talks about all this. I want to read you some of it. First of all, let's go back to what the Great Reset is. So the Great Reset, according to this article, is a term frequently used by journalists and researchers who have been trying to explain to the public these plans. These topics are often regulated to conspiracy theory forums, but the word has spread in an era of COVID-19. Many are discussing the Great Reset. This theory is no longer relegated to exclusive meetings at the World Economic Forum. It is now out in the open. So this is what Justin Trudeau said. The Great Reset began trending on Twitter after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the coronavirus pandemic had provided an opportunity for a reset. Trudeau is the first world leader to mention this agenda out in the open. Build back better, meaning getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 agenda for sustainable development and the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, said Trudeau. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global changes like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Build Back Better was literally alleged President-elect Joe Biden's campaign slogan, according to this article. And, if you're familiar with Joe Biden, he likes to bite a lot. Going back to his previous run in 1988, where he bit from the UK Prime Minister back then on words that gentleman used, and now Joe Biden using the words of Boris Johnson of Build Back Better. But now I'm starting to see that maybe this is a phrase that some of the world leaders are using. The article goes on to say that this agenda is essentially being ushered in as a result of the COVID pandemic. The reset is designed to address global poverty and climate change. Critics point out that the agenda is essentially a socialist redistribution of wealth. One of the biggest notable critics is the former Australian Senator Cory Bernardi. Bernardi believes that the COVID-19 pandemic hysteria is being used as the Trojan horse for the global agenda hatched out in the World Economic Forums in Davos. The agenda allegedly will consolidate governments into a centralized global order, curtailing standards of living, a socialist efforts to making things more equal order to end extreme poverty. This is where it really gets weird. Some of the ideas discussed by elites, such as World Economic Forum's funder Klaus Schwab, include a universal basic income where everybody will get an amount of money per month, $2,000 a month, as usually the threshold, and the government paying off every individual debt, including credit card and mortgages. I'm sure the left will like that. In return, the individual would give up the right to own private property. Bernard believes all this being packaged as a way to create a sustainable future while the agenda goes far beyond environmental issues. Let's say this is real. We already know that there's globalists. We already know that these governments want to work together. The pushing of Joe Biden to be president is so obvious, and it gives more validation that this election was rigged, in my mind. These world leaders, heck, even former world leaders like George W. Bush congratulating Joe Biden. It's like this whole, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But, I'm starting to think maybe Alex Jones type people, maybe they're on to something. Maybe they're not so loony after all. And it's disheartening to me that Americans, especially leftists, would, whether they know willingly or not, give up their freedom to not allow someone like President Trump to stay in office. A guy who fought globalists. A guy who put America first. A guy who put money in your pocket. And if he didn't directly, then he did with lots of other businesses and cut regulation. I'm in a business where there's uncertainty. We don't know what can happen. And in these last few years, it's very interesting how economists predicted all this bad stuff. And thank God we had someone like President Trump, because everything turned out to be fine pre-pandemic. And even when the pandemic happened, give it a month or two, and then boom, the economy starts hitting back up again. Booming. And for some reason, these assholes in the world stage want to tear down America and any kind of free, laissez-faire, capitalistic society. If you follow Sandy Cortez, aka AOC, she even said in a town hall meeting a few years back, and I quote, "It's not about me wanting your money. It's about I want your power." I mean, the leftists now, after so many years, they are more upfront than they've ever been before. And either leftists, they're little drones that like to say people like me are brainwashed. They carry out the message. They're the little drones. I'm no longer mad at those people. Yeah, I don't like a lot of them that hurt other Americans, especially my fellow Trump supporters. I don't like that. And I don't think you would either. It's very interesting, too. Joe Biden came out to condemn the violence, but he has to throw in that, there's white supremacists. I mean, Laura Ingraham interviewed last night two gentlemen who were filming the whole damn thing all day, and she asked, "Did you see any white supremacists?" No. It was all Trump supporters, and their words, the only people that were causing the violence were Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And if you don't know, Black Lives Matter is not about black lives. Okay, let's get that straight. It's three women who are, as they quote, trained Marxists who want to destroy the nuclear family and everything there is about America, really. And they also want to take down the American black man, because I think all three of them are lesbians, actually. Well, all this was on their website at blacklivesmatter.com. And then it's interesting because a few weeks back, some of that was taken down. But that's their mantra. That's what they are for. It wasn't a secret until just recently. And they covered it up. If you're going to state who you are, then state who you are. I would give the left more respect, even though I don't like what they are for, but just come out and say it. But that's why the right is more apparent about their agenda when it comes to media, and the left is not. This whole fact-checking, data-driven, using fact-check as a source all over social media. Like whenever a conservative posts up something about the election, there may be some irregularities in this election. And then you're immediately flagged as like, no, Joe Biden won. Shut up and obey. We are right. It's very interesting too about this Black Lives Matter. They're actually, do you know that it's actually owned by Act Blue, which fundraises for the Democrat Party, and Act Blue is owned by two white guys. So actuality, Black Lives Matter is actually owned by two white guys. I forget their names right now, but yeah, it is. True story. So don't think that it's for Black lives. It's to push the communist agenda. That's what it is. That's what they're for. If they were really for Black lives, then they wouldn't discriminate against Trump supporters who are black and who, quote unquote, want to get off the plantation, not vote for Democrats anymore. Anyway. So, hey, look, the economy's uncertain right now. We don't know if 2021 is going to be as prosperous as we may have thought, or at least some of us thought, because we thought that Trump would get back in really easily. But it's going to be a fight. And as much as it doesn't look like he might not get in, you never want to count the man out. He's already got some victories under his belt in cases. Now, the left like to make, like I said earlier, like to make a big deal about some setbacks. And apparently this DOJ resigned. Big deal. I mean, people resign all the time. But there's a case. There's a case that's being built. Now, I don't have all the evidence. I don't have all the facts on that, but because I think a lot of that is actually hidden. But there's some stuff that's, I think, is about to come out. And never count Trump out. Every time America's count Trump out, he comes back stronger. So just don't count him out. And for your sake, even if you don't like the man, what these world leaders want to do, if this is all true, you're going to be wanting President Trump back in after a few months. Now, this is not just to push President Trump. Okay, this podcast is not about that. It's about giving the other side of the story, really. But I do care about America a lot. And this has been the greatest experiment ever in the history of the world. Give people freedom. Let them do what they basically want. I mean, there's got to be some law. But you basically let them do what they want. And you let the human innovate and prosper and help others. And to destroy that is just insane. And I'm really glad that you're listening to this podcast, because this is what, whether it be small or you go somewhere else like a Steve Crowder, a Daily Wire, Blaze. You go to these other outlets that will give you the news straight up. Heck, even Newsmax. And they will give you another side of the story that you're not hearing from big tech or big media. And you need to hear it. You need to hear it. And that means getting off social media, or at least the big social medias as well. I made my way to Parler. And I'm checking out other ones too. Parler seems pretty good though right now. It's all right. It's a nice interface. They just got 5 million new users this past week. And they were sitting on 4. Newsmax just gained 1 million subscribers on YouTube just in the last week. Or they passed 1 million, I should say. And some of their shows have been getting 1 million viewers. Heck, even Steven Crowder's election night pulled in at least 8.4 million viewers, more than the major networks. That goes to show you something. And hey, look, I think CNN did a good job, actually, during that election night. I actually did. I liked it better than Fox News. And I'm a Fox News fan. Yeah, but look, I'm tired of being lied to, and you should as well. You really should. Even if you're a leftist listening to this, you should be you know that there's manipulation in the media. You know that there is, and that there are other forms of alternate media. I know because I have leftist friends who think that way. A lot of them, actually. Anyway, that's enough of my rant right now. To share your opinion or ask questions, contact me at anchor.fm/real quick with Gino Giovanni /message. Okay, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your thoughts. If you think I suck, hey, let me know. I'm up for improvement here. Or if you like what I'm saying, then great. You can also contribute to the site to help keep this show online as well. And there's various ways you can do that. On YouTube, leave a comment or question below and let me know your thoughts. Catch this show on Anchor, SoundCloud, and all major podcast platforms. And like I said before, I'm on Parler, so I need you to add me. Add me on Parler. Gino Giovanni, all one word. You've been listening to Real Quick with Gino Giovanni. Catch me tomorrow morning. My name is Gino Giovanni, signing out.